He's not standing at an official podium. He's not in full regalia. And he's not attending a state function. Prince William, the future King of the United Kingdom, paused his private family holiday to record a video that shook even the most indifferent viewers. His voice trembled. His eyes, usually calm and composed, were filled with something raw: grief, outrage, helplessness. And then came the numbers. Numbers that didn't sound real. 1,400 Rangers. Dead. In just 10 years. That's 2 lives lost, every week. No press release. No ceremony. Just a camera, a quiet room, and a prince choosing to step into the pain of others. This wasn't a statement about palace engagements or public duties. It wasn't a diplomatic moment. It was raw, personal, unguarded. He wasn't performing. He was pleading. The video appeared without fanfare on the joint account he shares with Catherine, the Princess of Wales. A channel normally filled with charity visits, smiles, and snapshots of family life. But this time, silence. A somber caption. A man looking into the lens like he was staring straight into history's blind spot. World Ranger Day. A date most people don't mark. But for those who walk the forests, deserts, and jungles to protect the planet's last wild spaces, it's more than symbolic, it's sacred. And for Prince William, it became personal. This is now one of the most dangerous jobs on the planet, he said. And really, it shouldn't be. His words didn't echo in a palace. They echoed across the forgotten corners of the earth, where men and women die alone in the name of protection. No applause. No statues. Just the dirt they fall on, and sometimes not even that. They are unseen and unheard, he said. So many cases go unreported. People don't even see them. And that was the wound. That was the core of his message, not just grief, but a reckoning. With all of us. Because we scroll past the stories. We celebrate nature, but ignore the bodies buried in the soil. We praise wildlife without thinking of the people who gave their lives to preserve it. Prince William, born into a world of marble floors and golden crowns, chose to look outward. Away from the palace. Toward the front line of an invisible war. And he didn't offer statistics. He offered silence. He let the weight of 1,400 lives hang in the air. He didn't cry. But his voice told you he could have. He spoke of legacies. Of sacrifices. Of a mission that must go on. He spoke not as a figurehead, but as a man. A father. Someone who understood what it means to risk everything for the future of something greater. And in that moment, the crown felt very far away. And the cause very close. He spoke of legacies. Of sacrifices. Of a mission that must go on. He spoke not as a figurehead, but as a man. A father. Someone who understood what it means to risk everything for the future of something greater. And in that moment, the crown felt very far away. And the cause very close. Because those 1,400 fallen Rangers weren't numbers to him. They were people. Sons. Daughters. Lovers. Strangers who made a choice most of us would never make, to protect life at the cost of their own. Some died in ambushes. Shot by poachers carrying military-grade rifles. Others collapsed from dehydration while patrolling vast savannas alone. Some were simply never found. Swallowed by jungles, by floodplains, by silence. They left behind not medals, but children. Not headlines, but grieving parents. Not ceremonies, but unfinished stories. And Prince William, who grew up under the weight of royal expectations, chose to stop everything and say their names. Not literally, but deliberately. Their presence was woven into every word. There was no grandeur in his message. Just gravity. Just the steady unraveling of a truth too long ignored. Because we have created a world where the guardians of life must die quietly for it to go on. Where the people protecting elephants, rhinos, and forests are treated as disposable, while the world posts filtered photos of nature, blissfully unaware of the blood in the background. And William knows that truth. Not in the way they do. Not in the trenches. But in his own way, he's seen the quiet cost of duty. He's flown into disasters. Sat with the grieving. Served as a rescue pilot, watching people take their last breath. He has been close to death before. And maybe that's what stirred him. Not numbers. Not strategy. But memory. Memory of what it means to lose. To carry grief into silence. He's not a loud royal. Never has been. While his brother makes headlines, William often steps back. Observes. Thinks. Waits. But when he speaks, he doesn't waste breath. And this message proved it. It wasn't a PR move. It wasn't choreographed. It was a man finally saying, enough. Enough forgetting. Enough ignoring. Enough pretending that conservation is clean and easy. It isn't. It's brutal. It's lonely. It's deadly. And it shouldn't be. The profession of ranger was never meant to be a death sentence. But the world made it so. Because it is not just animals they fight for, it's against organized crime, armed poachers, and entire trafficking empires. Many of which are funded by markets far from the places where the blood is spilled. They face corrupt systems, broken equipment, failing logistics, and the haunting knowledge that, if they fall, the world may not even know they were there. But William knew. And instead of issuing a polished royal statement, he offered something rarer: silence with weight. Eyes with pain. Words that linger like smoke in a cold room. It was more than a tribute. It was an echo. An echo of his grandfather, Prince Philip, who spent decades fighting for wildlife protection when few people cared. An echo of his father, King Charles, who warned of ecological collapse long before climate change became a political slogan. And perhaps even an echo of his mother. Because there was something in the way he looked at the camera, calm, unblinking, sorrowful, that reminded the world of Diana. The woman who touched the untouchable. Who walked through minefields and hugged AIDS patients when no one else dared. William doesn't mimic his mother. But that moment, this moment, was unmistakably hers. Quiet courage. Dignified fury. The ability to make the world feel again. And isn't that what leadership should be? And isn't that what leadership should be? Not just giving orders. Not just making appearances. But giving your voice to those who have none. Using your silence, your sorrow, and your strength to make the world stop and look. That's what William did. He paused his life, not as a formality, but as a decision. To mourn people he'd never met. To highlight stories no one wanted to tell. To bring the weight of monarchy into alignment with the weight of human sacrifice. He didn't propose a new initiative. He didn't launch a campaign. And maybe that's exactly what made the moment so powerful. Because it wasn't about solutions. It was about recognition. About giving dignity to lives erased too easily. About naming a problem most would rather ignore. And perhaps that's why this message cut through so deeply. Because it reminded us that the people who keep the planet alive are dying, and that the most privileged among us have a responsibility to speak that truth. William didn't do it for politics. He did it because he could. And because, maybe, he felt he had to. As the heir to the throne, he stands at the edge of a transformation. Between tradition and change. Between silence and voice. between being a royal and becoming a leader. His grandmother, Queen Elizabeth, ruled with steadfast composure. His father, King Charles, rules with environmental passion. But William, he may rule with something more dangerous, more fragile, more needed, emotional clarity. Not detachment. Not performance. But the kind of clear-eyed empathy that makes people remember what matters. Because while the headlines will fade, the names will remain. Etched into the earth, carried by loved ones, remembered by those still walking the same paths. There was one line in his message, quiet and nearly missed, that summed up the entire moment. We honor their sacrifice, and we carry their mission forward. He didn't say they. He said we. That single word, we, turned a royal address into a shared responsibility. It wasn't their world. It was ours. Not their loss. Ours. Not their fight. Ours. And in that moment, Prince William stopped being a future monarch and became something more powerful, a witness. A man standing in the space between privilege and pain. Using his platform not to protect image, but to protect memory. Because what are we, if we forget the dead? What do we become, if we allow the brave to vanish into footnotes? And what kind of future can we possibly build, if we continue to admire nature, while letting its guardians die unnoticed? Prince William didn't answer those questions. He simply asked us to start asking them for ourselves. And maybe that's the only place real change can begin. So what do you think? Has the world ignored the Rangers for too long? And is it time we start seeing their work, not as someone else's problem, but as part of our own survival? Tell us in the comments. If this message moved you, share it. Let someone else remember. Let someone else care. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more royal content that goes beyond protocol, and join us as we continue to uncover the stories that matter. Thank you for watching.